Welcome back to the PatORG podcast. I am Sarah, one of your hosts from season 22 of PatORG, and very excited to be once again joined by my wonderful co host, also from season 22 Amusement Parks. We have Nico here. Hi, Nico. How's it going?
Hey Sarah, yeah, really good to be here. Thankfully it is a Friday, so loving life. I don't know if it's weird to mention times, who knows when this is going to come out, but I imagine it will come out soon after. So yeah, really good to be here and with a guest that we have. Excited to talk about it.
Yeah, you might be able to guess who our guest is today. We've interviewed the two of the finalists from the season 23 of PatORG, Camp PatORG, and very excited today to be joined by the third place finisher from the season, someone we all really enjoyed following throughout the season in Spec Lounge. Andrew's here with us. Andrew, thank you so much for joining us today. How's it going?
Great. How are you guys doing? Hello, people of Standrew.
Yes, welcome all the Standrews. We're doing great. We're really excited to have you here. Learn some more about your game today. We really enjoyed your gameplay and your relationships and your confessionals all season. So looking forward to diving a little deeper into things.
Okay, thank you so much. I feel very honored. Very this feels like home to me.
That's so nice. Thank you. So like both of us, I think this was your first ever experience with an org, is that correct?
So yes, it was definitely. Pat randomly. I love to live tweet the current season of Survivor, and I guess he just like this person must be very interested. And yeah, I was definitely like one of those people. But before last season of Survivor, I didn't even know what Survivor was. I was very blindsided by the amount of goes into Survivor. My ex girlfriend and best friend is a huge Survivor fan, so she got me into it, and I was just taken away by the challenges, by the personalities, the how everything is goes into the show, and then I just actively started watching. And she is actually more into sequester, and she did like kind of a Reddit Discord sequester thing, and that's where I like watched her doing it, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. But I never thought it was gonna be me doing it because like as a person that's new to this, you're like, how did you get into that? So that yeah, this is my introduction completely to a totally new community.
Okay, that's actually kind of cool. I didn't realize that you had at least like secondhand seen someone do a type of org before, even though it wasn't Survivor themed. And that's awesome that you were sort of like immediately hooked into the show when she introduced you to it. Have you also been keeping up with the current season?
Yes, I have. If you see on my Twitter, I like every Wednesday night you just see me like all over. I'm not gonna spoil any details because I don't know how far people go into
Yeah,
it,
that's a good idea.
but yeah, so I definitely like the new seasons. I definitely my plan right after this org was actually gonna go back into like old school Survivor or like some really great seasons. Like some people of the this org showed me and introduced me into stuff that really got me hooked on it. And they were like calling out these characters that they're like, who are these people? I don't know. And then I would just like wiki search all these people and like I got me introduced into totally new field. So like after this podcast, I'm probably gonna watch season 33. I don't know yet.
Oh, okay. Very nice. Very nice. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of like Survivor super fans like to be very like referential to the show and things that have happened in the past. So, yeah, watching some past seasons is a really good idea, I think, if you're enjoying the current seasons of the show. So, that's really exciting. Um Okay, so I don't know if you remember this. It feels like forever ago that the PatORG season started, but you talked about your strategy coming in would be to kill them with kindness. And was that something that you wanted to do right away as soon as you were placed on your new tribe? What do you remember those first like couple interactions being like when you met your tribe mates first in PatORG?
So my first kind of interactions was definitely go towards someone that has done work or someone has a idea of what the this is what I expect. Because at first I thought this was like a trivia thing, and then it's like one day out of the week, and they just hit you with questions, but that's totally not. So linked up with Jeffrey right away, and we had like a full-on video chat, and he kind of explained to me like what to expect, and then he told me some people that he like had a good feeling towards, and that's where I like my kill them with kindness came in, and that's where I kind of had like small interactions, but I kept Jeffrey really close to me because he was like a foundation for me, and you need that foundation to progress.
That's so interesting to hear. So you really, I guess, had like just so much elements kind of to really take on as you were kind of going through the game, which I think is a really authentic way to experience Survivor. So that's really interesting. And you mentioned obviously Jeffrey being someone you were close with, and we see that as well throughout the season. Like you mentioned, Sarah, about the kill them with kindness thing. It's fun to sometimes go back and see what people said pre-season. And you also mentioned thinking you might consider yourself a bit of like an anti-hero. So what kind of elements of your like maybe personality or things you're expecting to do as far as the game goes made you think that that would be the sort of way that you might play?
So I don't think I lived up to the anti-hero because the anti-hero is like puts of self far and they care about their people around them a lot. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I was like that. I don't know. But I'm just maybe just hard on myself in general. But I don't know. There's a lot of aspects of like I wasn't trying to save anyone because I didn't know what I was doing. So I don't know. I was just trying to go with the flow, but not like trying to like stick out because I didn't want to make myself a target. Like a hero is always trying to make themselves a target because that's the people that are saving the city from mass destruction or the villain. So like I guess I don't know. I was more like a bystander. Like I was the one looking to be safe. And they luckily got me to the third place. So I was like that blew me away.
Yeah.
I actually think that anti-hero is quite a good descriptor for you in a sense because you came up with so many sort of like one-liners that kind of really made a lot of us just appreciate you and your humor. And I could totally see that descriptor fitting because it seems like you kind of experienced like a range of like emotions. You're definitely like a multifaceted character, and I don't think you were someone that you could like characterize in any one way, and that was really just yeah enjoyable to watch. Um, Another thing you mentioned was your cat, Nelson. Um,
Yeah.
so how did it feel when you realized you were playing with someone called Nelson? Did that give you any sort of feels in any way?
So yeah, I definitely felt so because I've never met anyone Nelson. Actually, how I got the name Nelson is my parents had a dog named Prince, and I'm a big fan of music, and Prince is one of my favorite musicians of all time. And so they are like, oh no, you can't name your cat Prince because we already had a cat. So I was like, oh, I'll go with the last name, Nelson. And then when I saw that Nelson was um on the like in the game, I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta be friends with this person because they that's just like instant connection. So it was just like a weird like connection. Like I got that little small detail that really like shaped our relationship. And do you want me to explain? Like, can I give some information that like completely shocked me after the game ended, or should I wait?
Yeah, that's actually what I was kind of gonna go with. So it seems like we're on the same page there. So feel free.
Yeah, so all right, so I found out his real name is actually Ari, and I was like, "What? A R I?" I was like, "What?" I mean, like, I didn't get mad that he lied to me. I think it's very strategic, and it's a game. Something that if I would go into a different org, I would definitely consider just because it would be an element of surprise. But I kind of was like, "Oh man!" But and then he told me that I think his dog was name is Nelson, or I forget offhand
I
right
think
now,
so,
but
yeah.
yeah. So I was like, whoa, that just really blew my way. Because I thought everyone like was like me, genuine, serious. Some people definitely had the upper hand, some people had the lower hand. So like I was like, okay, so everyone's pretty truthful here. I don't feel like anyone's masking or masquerading anything. So like I'm not gonna be like blindsided. And then that blindsided me. So
Yeah, if it makes you feel any better, we as spectators were blindsided as well. None of us knew that he was using an alias until he got to Ponderosa and came clean there as well. So it was just a big of a shock to us. And it's kind of funny because you go into these things trying to make connections with people, anything you can find in common. And it's just funny that the one thing you found in common with him early on happened to be something that wasn't necessarily true, but sort of true because, of the pet connection. But yeah, that's really funny. Um,
He did tell me his studious name. He told me that. So I got really close. When I get close to people in general, I love to love small details. I'm a fun fact, frenzy guy. So like, I was like really blew me away when he told me all this information about him. So I trusted him. Like I put a lot of trust into friendships. Like I'm not gonna give you shorthand details. I'm gonna give you the thickest detail, and that's. So I'm writing a book right now. I'm writing a memoir about my 8th grade to 12th grade right now. I just hit 60,000 words just like right before this call. So I'm making works, but I'm a man of full details. I love little small things just to give a full picture of like the entire thing.
yeah, and that's a fantastic detail. I think I remember you talking in confessionals of when you hit 40,000 words during the season. Is
Yeah.
that correct? So yeah, you've made a lot of progress since then. That's exciting.
Yes. I mean, I don't know. I make jokes that I'm gonna write 100,000 words, and what's just scary is that 40,000 words away from that. Like I don't know. I spend all day writing because I don't know. I just find it relaxing, and it's like what puts the parts together for me. I don't know. It's just it makes more sense than a puzzle for to keep that's on the record 100%.
Oh yeah, I feel similarly about puzzles. Um, you mentioned that that early video call you had with Jeffrey was really important in sort of building that trust you guys had and the friendship you built. Um, and I think that was sort of echoed with other people throughout the season that there is a lot of use of video and voice calls to build relationships. So how important were those calls instead of doing everything via text to you and building trust, building relationships throughout the season?
So, like, just like virtual school for most people that were in college, such as I, we need that connection. We need to see the person just to feel like we can see them, and it doesn't create a barrier cage. So, like, if a person agreed with me with a video call, I think they were instantly a connection for me because it didn't hold anything back from me. It didn't feel like someone was gonna hit me with, like darkness or like hit me with something that would be like completely far off. A voice call I felt similar but not 100%. A video call goes more further for me because I could see what they're hiding. You can't like it's like when you're looking at someone and having a real conversation, you stare at them, you see their eyes, and when they look away, you feel like they're lying a little bit. So like that's where I felt with video calls. A voice call, it's great. Like I love hearing your guys' voices because it makes clarity for me. It makes me like express myself. A text, eh, anyone can message nowadays. Like even computers are doing it itself. So it's kind of skeptical to do with text. I mean, I will do it. I grew up with texting, so like I'm used to it. But I just have that more underlying truth with a video chat than more than not.
I think that makes a ton of sense, especially what you've just said about liking people to be very open and honest, and that's what builds trust with you. And I guess the more information you have, and I guess even just visuals as a part of that, is I guess just more information, especially in light of where other people might have more information in terms of the amount of seasons they've done or the amount of games they've played if they're a vet. So for you, I think you were coming into this a bit in the dark, even saying that you thought maybe the game would last a day. So any sort of additional information you could get, I guess, is really valuable. So I totally understand that. Um, Speaking of those early game relationships, we do see you form an alliance with Jeffrey and Jimmy. What kind of made you three, and I guess Jimmy in particular, since you kind of explained and
Oh
touched
boy.
on what got you close with Jeffrey, but what made Jimmy your like third in that sort of alliance at the beginning?
So I don't think it was. I don't remember if it was me. I don't know. I think Jeffrey was just clinging towards the alliance. He wanted someone to have trust with, and I guess he saw Jimmy as an opportunity because Jimmy seemed like the most personable, I guess. But for me personally, I did not really trust Jimmy. I don't think Jimmy was, I don't know, like when he broke out and had that like that stunt, we can call it. I wasn't like, wow, okay, that's great. I mean, it might shock some people that didn't have a personal conversation with him, but I kind of knew that Jimmy had a bad tick in him. He's a big fan of Real Housewives of whatever city, and I am too, and that's drama filled. And I'm not one for drama. I will watch drama on TV, but I won't put myself in drama because it's just toxic and not really healthy for my energy levels. So I don't know. I think it was more of a Jeffrey and Jimmy thing, and Jeffrey was my A1, and he just wanted to lump me with him. And when Jimmy would start criticizing Jeffrey about his challenge behavior, I was like, bro, you you're one kind of starting the drama. Like, why are you doing this? And that's where I kind of stepped off the gas, and I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna get into this. I kind of started stuff with other tribe members because I wanted them to be aware of his behavior in case something happened, like dramatically, which it did, but it was not dramatic to me because I kind of expected this.
What was the feeling to lose the first immunity challenge of the season? Nico and I both know it's not a great feeling. So, how did that
Hmm.
feel, and what was the strategy going into that first vote? Were you more feeling like in a self-preservation mode, or did you feel comfortable in your relationships to sort of help guide that first vote toward Kay?
I think I was a little because me and Kay did have low conversations here and there. Um, so I don't know, I kind of felt a little pressed, but I was like, I need to hold on to this relationships because I know that they're gonna hold me far, and that's why I'm probably talking to you guys for the three people like the like challenges, and that's what kind of built my structure and my strategy is just stay close to who has the closest like even if they didn't win immunity, just stay close to them because they they're gonna do great wonders and they're gonna help you succeed even if they like don't get to this spot they will like remember you and you can jump on their bandwagon and take it all the way.
Absolutely. So in the pre-merge, we see a couple different things happening. Of course, we have the campfire twist, which allowed you to talk during limited time to everybody in the game, as well as two different swaps. So can you talk about sort of your approach to those different changes that happened throughout the game? What sort of relationships were you focused on building outside of your own tribe, your original tribe, I should say, during the different swaps, and using the campfire as sort of a tool to help that as well?
So I saw whoever was like the most active in the chat because I knew that they were serious because like you're not gonna really talk to someone that's quiet or because you're not gonna get the most information. So I try to go for the people that were the most active, the most relatable, the most like understanding of the game. And so I saw those. I like that campfire twist because it really like introduced people that you never thought you were going to talk to ever, like from different tribes. Like I really um heard different voices and really like got different perspectives just so I can see more universal and in case there was the merge like right out of the gates, I would have been like, oh, okay, this is how it works. Like I just went for the loudest person. And then when the swap happened, I got close to the people that were in my tribe because I knew that toward tribe challenges, you're gonna need to be in that conversation piece and need to like intermingle and like work towards success.
Mm-hmm.
So, pre that swap, was there anyone you felt like you reached out to the most as far as outside of your Chippewa group, or was it mainly sort of sticking within those and kind of sticking close with maybe Jeffrey
Yeah, it
last
was
time?
definitely Jeffrey. I'm just to cut it short because I feel like I like yeah, I was talking to Carolyn. Carolyn, yeah, I was talking to her often, but I wasn't like it was like maybe second swap before she left. Literally, like before she got booted, voted out. I got off a voice call with her, and we talked about like what our future holds, and it was very like I felt like realistic. And then she left, and she got voted out. I was like, oh, where do I go? Do I go back or like I kind of was like, crap, that was like my main source.
Right, that can be really difficult when you invest in someone and then they end up leaving, and then it's almost like, well, I need to reallocate resources in a sense. But it's always nice when you feel like you can make those bonds with people and
Yeah. Like when
ultimately.
Jeffrey got voted out, sorry,
Oh, go for
I'm
it.
not used to cutting off people. I hate doing it because I feel like it's rude. But anyways, when Jeffrey got voted out, that got me mad. I was like, I don't know if you guys saw my confessions. I had the Bob's Burger daughter, I forget her name now, but she had vengeance, and I was like, this is like, I know I'm not good at challenges, but I gotta crack down who it is. And then we found out the next tribal that it was her, so I was like, okay, that makes sense. So I was like grateful that it happened in that way, but I should have did more to figure out truth because it probably would have made me like less angry, I guess. I wasn't angry, but I was like zealous maybe.
And I think that's fair enough, especially without seeing like multiple seasons to kind of. I mean, even people who've seen many seasons, it can be very easy to take maybe this game personally, and when you lose someone you're close to, that's going to hurt, like regardless of if you are trying to be a complete game bot and think of things just strategically. Um, One thing that we also saw quite early on was there was the challenge on VC with you, Clara, and Daniel. There was a bit of like some difficulties there. I think it was the one with the puzzles, where you guys had to describe things blind. Was that the first time you'd VC'd with either Daniel or Clara, and how was that for you?
So yeah, it was. At first we didn't know how to approach the challenge because it was very like different. Like it was not like the original puzzle was kind of like a letter, and then we figured out how to do it, and that's kind of what made it easy for us. Like the calling out and given like so there was letters that you had to like match up with the to make the puzzle, and we kind of went that way. It was confusing. Like if you plan accordingly, I feel like Daniel or she will have better strategy on how to do it because I was just going with the flow. I was like, okay, that makes sense, and then I got it. So like, yes, that was my first time talking to them, and they were very patient people. Like, especially Daniel. I love talking to Daniel. He was a wonderful treat to talk to. I gravitate towards a lot of educational people in life. Like everyone on this Survivor, on this on org, I would definitely keep conversation with them because they're all educated and very very smart in every aspect of life. So I really gravitate towards those people. So I really, yeah, I really like talking to Daniel because he's like a therapist, I believe, and that's like that. I don't know, like for being someone really young and like established, it's kind of inspirational for me even.
That's really nice to hear, yeah. And we do see you end up going to that first swap with Daniel, still on your tribe. You guys end up swapping with five out of uh, your original seven into the swap of, I want to say, nine people. So you guys have the majority out of the gate as a Chippewa tribe. Um, at what point do you feel like you kind of started developing that closeness with Daniel and the rest, and I guess even Joe that we see you kind of get close with down the line? Was
Yeah,
that
I
from
would
before the
definitely.
swap?
Yeah, most definitely. I would definitely think it was during that swap. I definitely really got close to them because they knew what it was like to. I think did they win immunity by that time or no? I forget.
That's a good question. I think you guys had a cup. I think the only time at that point that you guys lose is the Ryan and Rachel votes, if I'm
Okay.
not mistaken.
Okay. So yeah, yeah, that's when I got close to them after that like initial swap because I felt like they seemed like they had a good head on their shoulders and they really cared about the game. Like they really wanted to like get to where I was in third place. Like they should have been in where I was, honestly. Like it still blows my mind. I'm sorry, I reminisce. I'm a very like when it's something great or something I get far in life, I'm like I get imposter syndrome. I don't know sure if people have like get that, but I definitely suffer from it, even in my real life. So like when people tell me like congratulations, you got the third place, I'm like, that's like that's big, but like my body's just not like responding to that often. So like yeah, I don't know. So, I feel like that was like completely far out. I'm sorry.
No, you're totally fine. I think it does happen to a lot of people, honestly, but you should really be proud of that because I mean, it's hard to do well on Survivor. It's hard to do well in these orgs. There's so many different factors that contribute to people getting voted out. There's luck involved sometimes, you know. It's really like a culmination of things. So getting there is really difficult and you should be proud. So yeah, I think you should own it. It's a really solid placement. And you got to argue your case in front of the jury, which, you know, most people die to do. So that's
Yeah.
fantastic. So you touched on this already, but I do want to get a little more context for when you find out that Jeffrey's voted out and you sort of are like, okay, that's it. Now I'm just focused on avenging him, really, it seemed like. So what did you go about doing there? Like who did you reach out to? What kind of questions were you asking people? I just want to get more information because that was really interesting to see because we could obviously tell you were very upset by the vote out. So what immediate steps did you take after that?
So I definitely was focused on those people that were close to him. Like I knew that were in our tribe originally and try to get close to him. I think that's when I got close to Nelson. Nelson actually, because he was on the same boat of like missing Jeffrey and like he felt like like a missing link. So like yeah, when he left, we were all like, we gotta find to the bottom of this. We need to who it is. I was asking like what have you heard? What caused it? Like that challenge where we had to like not say anything for like I think 20 minutes or that whatever that time limit was. That's where I was like, okay, I'm gonna stay quiet, and I really hope this challenge goes far. And then when Leona said something, that's where my mind kind of ticked, and I heard that she like changed her profile or like she did something like kind of sus that like really got people like pet peeved and yeah.
Yeah, I think she changed her profile picture mid challenge, which is really funny. Um, yeah, and that's interesting you bring up. Yeah, this I think was the start of the Nelson relationship for you, and I think he stayed at the top of your trust rankings leading into the merge here. So in addition to working with him closely, what sort of strategy did you have heading into the merge? Who else did you want to connect with, and what was sort of your plan there to make it as far as you could once you reached that individual portion of the game?
So I definitely think Nelson and Joe were like my one and two. So like I had like long, meaningful conversations with them, and I really got to like know who they were from the inside, like perspectively, and it kind of like helped me like felt safe in that security. Like they felt like my force field, and like if they were going for just one person, I'll be like, okay, yeah, let's do it, because I don't want to like appear like outsider because they were powerful, strong characters, and they're very sociable and they can get those people on board with them because they have more of a grip of like what this org is about. So like I was kind of like, yeah, I'm gonna lean more heavy with them because I don't want them to think different of me. I don't want them to think that outplaying them. Like I was just trying to go with it because I don't want it to like to be a target. I just want him to like, okay, that's great. Andrew in our body for us. Perfect. We don't want him to go because he's an extra asset for us in the Thorn Tribal.
I think a fellow sort of Arawak or Blue that you kind of connected with a bit was Sarah after that swap coming into the merge. Ultimately, we do see her go in that sort of merge vote, which is the first time you're really blindsided, unless if you count sort of the idol play from Ryan. What was that like, kind of seeing things not go the way you expected?
Hmm. I mean, like, it's like putting in blind trust. It's kind of hard. It's pressing because it makes you feel like you put so much into something and then it leaves, and it's like, why? Why does that happen? Like, I need explanation. You can't just give me who, what, where, and not tell me why. So like, it felt like I need to like I don't know. It's kind of hard to put myself in there because it's been a while, but like I just needed like explanation. I just wanted like yeah, I just wanted answers, and I felt like her leaving was kind of like ouch.
I think that's totally fair enough. I mean, no one likes to be blindsided, especially with people that, as you mentioned, you put a lot of effort into. Do you feel like you managed to get sort of those answers? Like, were people giving you information? Like, how did it, do you feel like people were being honest if they were giving you information?
You were talking, telling me that like at that time I probably would give you like yeah, 100%, but like right now I just feel like a lot of that was I don't know, like maybe like a false falsity. Like a lot of times I felt like it was like we're just gonna go and vote for these people. Like we're going straight on, and we don't care. We're just going with it. And like they, I don't know. Like sometimes like there are some things I had like convictions with myself. It's like, well, this person is really like helpful, and it's gonna lead us to the promised land. But like I was like, oh wait, this is for myself. I need like I don't know. It's just like I was kind of like nervous to like speak up at times because I didn't want to be like outed for it. So
Again, I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, we see people sometimes speak up and then they can get a massive target on their back. So it can be very difficult knowing how much you can push people for answers and things without ticking them off. Um,
mhm,
Unfortunately, we do see in the next vote again, by and large, your voting record is quite impressive, but you do at the next vote as well vote for Matthew when it is John who ends up going. So
mhm.
how was it again having that sort of like back to back kind of being on the outs, and where did you feel like you could really like go from there if you had any plans about how you were going to move forward?
So this is during the Matthew vote, right? Like this is
Yeah.
where I vote for Matthew. Okay, so I don't know Matthew. He's a great guy. I mean, he's a wonderful person, but he was scary. Like he kept on targeting women, and I don't want to bring up any like labels because I got caught in the fire with that. Like I should have backpedaled. I shouldn't have said the words I said. I think I was just filled with smoke, and I was just like, I needed to release some air out of me because I didn't want to like create a target or make myself a label. So like, I was just mad that he kept on going after women of the game, and there were assets of the game. So like, I don't know why he was going after it. Maybe he saw them as more like a stronghold, and he just wanted to get rid of that stronghold. So like, yeah, I was like, I don't know. It's like you don't need to go after a woman. Like, there's so many other players in this game that are like waiting waiting links, and I just wanted to like diversify it and not go with the flow at that point. So that's where I was
Mm-hmm.
hanging towards Matthew.
I can understand that sometimes when you see what might appear like a trend that maybe it's sometimes easy to read into things. Do you feel like it's fair to say at this stage you kind of maybe think that that was maybe more, I guess, maybe not circumstantial, what's the word, coincidental versus like something that was like actively going on?
Yeah, I think so a little bit because there was a lot of people at that point that like I okay, so John, yeah, he was a threat and he might have some power to him, but if you like look at the bigger picture, there's other people like I don't know, I just felt like Matthew was honestly gonna like slide all the way through and just get himself to like second place. So like I was just trying to like shut him down before it got too far. But I mean, that's where that's I why I didn't like fully go on a full tangent because if I went on a full tangent, probably what some people would hear me, and then they would be like, "Oh, Andrew's making voices. We don't want him to make assumptions anymore. We're gonna vote him out." So that's where I kind of like I was like, "Okay, I need to come back together. I need to like regroup with myself because you don't know what the repercussions are gonna hold."
Yeah, that's definitely tricky. We do see in the next vote, you do manage to get back into the majority, and it ends up being a Jeff vote, which was someone who you kind of had a bit of a sort of like back and forth with in Jeff. What was it about Jeff? I think there was sort of talks about you maybe having issues with something about challenge performance. Is that where it kind of stemmed from?
Yeah, I definitely yes, my challenges were crap. Like everyone and I laugh at about it now. Yes, I was so hard on myself about the challenges because this was my first time ever using Discord, my first time ever doing an org, first time I hate doing puzzles in real life, so I'm not a logistical person. So like yes, I feel like he was attacking me at my lowest blow. Like okay, yeah, it's a part of the game to attack people at their lowest, but to rub it into my face and then have an alliance with I believe he had a who did he have alliance with? Oh gosh. I think it was Marcus and someone else, I forget who. But I know he like had that group in because I think that was his original tribe. So like I was like, why are you hitting me at my lowest? Like, dude, like think of something else. Like and then he was kind of like taunting about it and then like I was hard on myself, but it's okay for me being hard on myself because I know where my imperfections are. But when someone else is hard on you, it's bullying. It's straight up bullying. So that's where I like didn't really like him. I didn't really like the attitude he had. He's a great person. I had a really good conversation with him about him being a student professor, and I think that's awesome. It's just as a team player, and then he was bad at challenges in himself. He was like, so he's a survivor nut apparently, or he like knows about survivor, but he failed to do like one a survivor challenge. So you can't. I don't know. He was more like my dad, like words more than actions.
Yeah, I can see that. Emotions can very much ride high during the game, especially when it comes to the stress of like challenges, and they can be really difficult and frustrating. So I can understand, where some of the conflict comes from. Um, yeah, and so then finally, after the Jeff vote, we do finally see Matthew go home after you had kind of been targeting him for a little bit. Um, so once he's gone, I think the field is really starting to narrow down here. Are you building any other relationships that you think are important? And anything else that was really starting to impact how you were thinking about what the end game should look like for you?
Again, I was living day by day, trying to create. I my strategy, honestly, for like that question is literally the same from the beginning. Stay close to someone, make sure they're a high ranked person that can get far. If they get voted out, go to the next person. Like I was playing freeze tag with these people, and when they got froze, they got they got voted out. So like I don't know. I guess my power of being loyal and my idea of alliances and friendships vary depending on their worth in the game. So like I was catering towards those friendships that I knew that were gonna get me far and like create a protection.
At this point in the game, who in your mind were the biggest threats to win at the end?
Hmm. Ooh, man, that's hard. I don't know, cause like everyone seemed very powerful. Like I don't know. Oh man, who would wait? So on the board, who was my choices?
So you're kind of working with Nelson and B at this point. Jacqueline is still there and is getting ready to go out, and then we have like the top six in Daniel, Joe, B, Clara, and Marcus.
Go with Daniel just because he seemed like the most like well-rounded, more like he knew how to navigate challenges and he knew how to pick the right friendships to get him far. And yeah, it just sounds like he was like he had the best head on his shoulders.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of people felt similarly about him about this time. Um, okay, so we see you working with the group that votes out Jacqueline here. Nelson wins immunity. But at the next vote, Nelson is blindsided. Um, at the time, he hadn't told you or I think anyone in the game about his idol, but he does go home with an idol here. You voted with him against Clara. Um, and so I think he was still sort of, your number one at this point. You are working still a little bit with Joe, and then you guys vote out Daniel as well. So we're really getting down to the nitty gritty here. At one point, also, did you start developing the relationship you had with B?
So I think that Nelson vote out from Daniel, that like when I knew that it was Daniel, I felt the same way with like how was Leona with Jeffrey. Like it pissed me off because like we literally 2 minutes, like not even two, maybe 30 seconds before we were all putting our votes in, everyone was on board, like the same vote. So it was like, what? Like, really? Are you serious? Like, why are you doing this? Like, yeah, I get it's the point to like eliminate a surprise, but like we were seriously destined to do this. Like, what made you backpedal? And then that's when like during that like small alliance I had with Joe, Daniel, B, and Nelson, that's when I got close to B. Actually, no, B. I think during the last campfire, B said, "Hey guys," and I went to go message her and say, "Hey B," just to say hi, and that's when we kind of got like our friendship established. So yeah.
I think I actually remember, was it maybe at the beginning of the merge? She had said something in her confessionals that you declined to have like a voice chat with her or something like that. But then you guys ended up, sort of reconnecting later. But I know she was concerned at first that you didn't want to work with her. But it did seem like you guys were working pretty closely throughout like the mid to late merge. Would you say that's correct?
Yeah, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
again, she was a stranger, and I didn't know her on face value. Like, she was part of the different tribe, so I was like, I need to like I don't know, I gotta find like an introduction point. So yeah, I kind of left her as a stranger at first because I didn't know who she was, and then she got closer, and then that's where we got like more linked. And I have to say, B is the most selfless. I don't know if it's alias or if she's like playing someone, but the way she acts, she is such a selfless person. Like it made me feel very validated. It made me feel like I don't know, she felt I don't want to sound like wrong, but she sounded like a girlfriend to me, and I was like not trying to get that close to her because I was like, this is a game, you don't need to do that. But she would always ask how I'm doing and like ask about my book, and then she said when she wanted to do a voiceover for my book, I was like, what? Like, I don't know, I just felt like it was a really great way to deceive me if she got to where like further than I did. That would have been a easy
Oh,
way.
interesting. So is she
Yes.
as personal as she got, it started to feel like maybe she was being a little deceptive or she could have been. Yeah. I can understand like having your guard up a little bit, if
Yeah,
you're not
so
sure
like
about someone. Hmm.
yeah. That's where I think it was my smartest move is to vote for her because I knew that if she was gonna get to jury, like the final jury, like where I was, she would have won over people because people love her. It seemed
Yeah.
like I mean I was not alone, but it seems like a lot of the jury really loved her. So she would have probably got like a clean sweep even because there's a lot of people that were part of her tribe that were in the jury. So it was like I don't know. Like I was like, oh man, this is where I feel like I sit in the driver's seat now. Like even I got Marcus to I think go with me, or he made a point that like I was like, okay, let's go with that one. So
Yeah, I think it was actually pretty surprising. It was to me and maybe some of the other spectators as well that you seemed to like instantly vote her in that final four spot after Clara wins immunity. If Clara hadn't
yeah,
won immunity, say you or Marcus had won immunity, who would you have wanted to vote out there, Clara or B?
probably Clara. I feel like she
Hmm.
even though she won one challenge, she was definitely a challenge beast. She definitely like I believe she had an alliance with Daniel, and I was very skeptical about it, and that's where I was like Daniel, yeah, he's a great player, and I want him to get far and win, but it's just hard to like say this about your friends. It's like, yeah, so like it definitely would have been Carla. Like I
Okay.
love her, she's a wonderful person. It's just I couldn't put myself in it.
Mm-hmm. And did you consider voting Marcus out there, or forcing a tie with B, anything like that? Or did you know as soon as the challenge was over that you would need to vote B out?
So actually, I wanted to vote Marcus way earlier. He was as quiet as a mouse in the game. I didn't even know who he was until like very late in the game, like five, six. So like I was like, yo, we should vote out Marcus because he's a weakest link. He hasn't said anything. He's quiet. He doesn't really win anything. Like I was, at least I was like, I was loud and proud, but not quiet. Like I don't know. He was just so quiet, and I was like, worried he was gonna do something, which he did. And I think Marcus is, now that I'm talking about it, I'm like he's more the route I should have taken. Been quiet, get far. Like he was smart, and then he won that challenge. That definitely like he deserves to be in second place for that one. Like I really love Marcus this game now that I'm thinking about it.
So at one point, you, B, and Marcus talk about going to the end as a final three. We ultimately do see that Clara is able to win in that sort of final slot. But at what point did you sort of consider this? And was it something that kind of you came up with independently and spoke with others, or did other people bring it to you?
So they brought it to me, and then I thought about it myself because I was like, why would we do that? I feel like we're a great people, and like it'd be a hard thing. But and then I thought about it, like like B is a great sociable person, and people will really like her. Marcus is very quiet and doesn't really interact. That's what I think, or I guess I'm assuming. And then there was me that like a lot of people on the jury like we had like an alliance with, or like we came across each other. So like I don't know. I think I was too like connected with the idea, and then Clara won the immunity, and I was like, that really like screwed up everything.
So at the point where you were thinking, why would we do that? Who was the other people you were considering as kind of going to the end with them?
Um, I was kind of like Joe and Daniel because I knew Daniel. I wanted Daniel to get far, and then I think Joe because he had a great background. He had great like he had a great story to win. Like he would be a Heartstopper if I was like a jury member for me. So I think I'm looking at it like different opposites from each person, like their backgrounds and like how they shaped their game. So like I don't think Joe would use it as a crutch, but he would definitely would mention about his girlfriend incident. I don't know how often he talked about it in his confessions. He probably did, but I heard him out, and I really feel for him because I had a breakup of my own. The girlfriend that I was talking about that got me into Survivor in general. So like I felt for him, and that's why I wanted him to go further than, let's say, Marcus.
Okay. And at that final four vote, were you surprised that B cast her vote for you instead of Marcus?
I wasn't like, yeah, I wasn't like offended because it had to be one of us. Like it was heads or tails, and she probably did a flip the coin. So like I was, I didn't really offend me. I think I was more shooken when Clara put my name in the tribal that time. That's what got me. But she responded to me right away, literally like after tribal. She's like, I couldn't put myself to put you because Daniel's like a friend of mine's, or like I was like, okay, well, that I don't know. I feel like there's something between them, and that kind of got me a little like iffy.
Yeah, she
But
sort
I
of
was
cast like a rogue vote for you at that vote. Yeah, that was really
yeah,
interesting.
seriously,
Mm-hmm.
100%. I was like, wow, okay, like I get it. You can't put your best friend in like your number one, but like me, like there's other people in the game. Like, okay, cool. But I'm glad that she won. Good for her.
Okay. So B goes out at final four. And so then you're headed to final tribal council, which is really exciting. So what was A your strategy going into that? What were you thinking you wanted to make sure that the jury knew before they cast their vote? And what were your thoughts about your general relationships with the jury members? Did you think that there were some people who were definitely going to vote for you, some people who were definitely not going to vote for you? What was your overall perspective of your chances there?
I literally went on Google Generator and looked up like I just like gave a member and it said like I typed in how many people there was on the jury and then how many people there like I typed in the member and it gave me six. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. Why not? Six people. And I was just trying to be as not as cocky, but I definitely felt like some of those people definitely like I thought Nelson was gonna vote for me, honestly, because we had a really, really close relationship. I thought I definitely think Joe and I we ended on a really bad note. I really feel bad about Joe because I really love talking to Joe. If I could like if Joe you're listening to this, I love you. You're an awesome human being. So I kind of like I really hated that we ended on the negative note. I know that Matthew was gonna be very hard. Like that dude is like Survivor Jesus and God. So I knew that we were gonna because I said that comment, so I was like, yeah, not really. But the other people, I was just like, I thought B was gonna vote for me too because we were close, but she knew she had a good head on her shoulders and she knew who to put. So like, I was just giving it a last shot. Hoorah, hoorah! Let's just see what happens because you don't know. Like sometimes people change their heart last minute.
I find that so interesting that you said that you put that into a Google Generator or something to get the answer of six, and that you tried to be quite cocky with it because I was looking back at the sort of pre-season questions, and one of them was, "Why do you believe you'll win Online Survivor? Be as cocky as you want. We don't judge." And you answered with, "I will find unorthodox ways to wins." Hopefully unexpected ones, and then we do see that kind of coming full circle, kind of coming into play here. And cocky was another sort of word that, well, I don't know cocky, but you definitely, the way you were answering the questions with things like a 60% or six votes to win, uh,
Yeah,
from the outside perspective, was definitely coming across as quite confident. Um,
yeah.
so it's just funny how that all kind of worked out in the end. Um,
I mean, if you're gonna end something, you're just gonna end up on the high vote. I want people to like, well, the standards for all those listening. So I'm shocked that people actually care about like my game, but I just wanted to create something. I'm a middle child. I'm a Leo, and that's what Leos do and middle childs do. They try to find ways to be the circle of attention and talk about. So I guess that's me being as selfish as possible.
And honestly, it makes for a great like tribal council. I mean, we don't want to see one of the things that people had said about Clara's game there that we wanted her to be maybe be more confident. So we had that sort of like dichotomy, I guess, between you two in particular. And the finishing part of that line that I was about to read with, I found unorthodox ways to win, you'll go on to say, I want to be forgotten for a while, then reappear within the last three. So it's interesting how that does end up coming to fruition. How did you feel like, sort of, on the whole, uh, you kind of dealt with Final Tribal? I know at one point you kind of mentioned that it was like rough or sort of words to that effect. But how was it for you, and how was it like now looking back?
It was like texting. It felt like very tiresome. I felt very like I don't know. It's like these questions. Can we just do like a voice call? Like that's kind of forte. Is like I feel like the questions were very like in depth and made you want to like think how are you doing? It's like I'm being honest. My strategy was just to be friends and meet new people. That was my entire forte. I'm glad it got me far in the game. I'm surprised it got me far in the game, but I'm not hiding anything. I wouldn't do anything that's not unlike Andrew because I was going into this game completely new. Like I'm as fresh as like taking off the packet of whatever it is. But like I was just wanted to see what this thing it is and just be as credible, personal on Andrew as possible. I don't want to like give people the short and trick of who I am because like what if I have like lifelong friendships with these people? They want to like remember this moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And even though you don't end up earning any votes at Final Tribal, you definitely kept the standards fed all season. We were very entertained by you. It was really, really fun to watch your game and sort of see you figure things out. I think one of the things that I like, especially about PatORGs, because the world of orgs is very big, but he goes out of his way to find people who aren't as familiar with orgs and have never played before. And so there were a lot of newer people on your season, and you and them made it really, really fun to watch because you don't know what to expect. So it was
Yeah.
such a fun season to observe from a spectator's perspective, and I really hope at the end of the day it was a positive one for you and that you had a lot of fun along the way.
Yeah, and I definitely achieved what I wanted. I wanted to create friendships and meet new people like you guys and like Jeffrey and Nels, well, Ari. So there's so much like outcomes. Like, yeah, I didn't win, but who cares if I didn't win or lose? I met my goal that to meet new people. So like, I'm just grateful for the experience, and I will forever remember this. Even if I don't go and do one ever again, it's just something I'm gonna remember, and like I'm gonna always lock Survivor and this PatORG intertwined. It's gonna be like together. It's just gonna connect with me.
Oh, I love to hear that, and I definitely share the same opinion as you guys. As Sarah said, it was quite an unpredictable season, and having people like you who are maybe less familiar, just reacting to things authentically without sort of like the script or play-by-plays that they've seen in Survivor and how they're supposed to react or how they're supposed to feel. And we see like the general sort of it kind of comes from the idea, I guess, of, I know it's a cliche of a social experiment, and a lot of the times you do just want to come here and make friends and just see what happens. And I think that can make for great, especially when it's in the mix of people who are trying to play very strategically. Um, and you were definitely a big part of what made this season so interesting. So I really appreciated you. And there was a big faction of the Standrews that I honestly wasn't sure if you were going to get the fan favorite towards the end. I definitely was umming and ahhing about my vote. So yeah, it's just been a real pleasure this whole season, and uh, yeah, I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think like going into this, like again, I thought this was just a trivia game that it was just once a week, and it became like 42 days, I think, and it became an entire like an everyday thing, and like creating those relationships, saying good morning to those people, thinking about how you're gonna take on this new day. Like it was something that it definitely helps you distract from real life. A little too much, but like it's something to do. I mean, it as a person who is very like emotionally driven and like thrives off of energies, I definitely feel like this was a great experience for anyone that is trying to get something out of it and like just meet new people that have different experiences with Survivor or different experiences of like interaction. Like if you struggle with sociability, like social, like if you're a very introvert and you feel like you can't do anything, I would recommend this or to those people because it would help you like practice your social skills and practice like even when I was in my Denver and I was not winning challenges, I was so hard on myself. But now that I'm away from it, I'm like, Pat was a wonderful soul. Yeah, he was spicy and he had some words to say, but that dude, like, he is so classically trained in great hospitality. Like, don't be scared to like fail because you know there's gonna be a great picker up soon.
Very well said. That being said, would you consider playing more org survivor themed or not in the future? And are you gonna spectate the next season of Pat Org, which should be starting kind of soon?
So I think if I get like a trial run or like the challenges, I know they're supposed to be random. Just give me like something ahead of time so I don't, or give me some. That's the only down value I think for a person that's hard on himself. Do a couple of the pre-challenges or read the challenge channels beforehand so you don't feel lost. Like I live by example. Like I watch examples. I don't live by example, but it's a joke. But anyways, um I feel like if you like want to be successful, brushing up on your like computer games just so you can understand what to expect. because like again, I the reason why I was hard on myself is because I'm not really used to this stuff. Instructions were very like tedious for me, so I was like reading them 100 times and I was like failing. But it's probably like the smallest details. So I would just say make sure you read the instructions. If I do one again, just read it over, brushing up my skills. And then the second part of that question, I think I will spectate, but the only thing is I'm really like busy in my personal life right now. I'm in the process of moving to a new place, so I might pop my head in once or twice. Hopefully it lets me just like scour the spectator chat just to see what it looks like because I would like to like just to see how people are doing and how's the current game going.
Yeah, even spectating can be a big undertaking, so I totally hear you there. Thankfully, we do have great resources in the recaps, and maybe this can go on to be one of those extra resources that sometimes people can use to catch up. We're not expecting all of them to necessarily be super long ones, so hopefully they can be more digestible, I should say. Um, but yeah, it's been so great talking to you. Is there anything else you want to touch on before we finish up about the game, or just even outside of the game?
Don't be hard on yourself, really. It's not worth doing because maybe I'm just rephrasing what I'm saying before, but I just want to like for people that are listening to this and they just want like some comfort from a person that made it this far. Anyone could do this. You don't have to have survivor knowledge. You don't have to be the well-trained computer winner. Like you don't need to win immunities to get far. You just need to have a wonderful perspective of the game. You need to stay close to people that you know that are gonna get to that part, and then you just gotta have a great smile. That's all I have to say. Don't be hard on yourself.
I love that. That is something I remember reading from your confessionals again, and I always love when things come sort of full circle. So, thank you for that. Sarah, is there anything you want to say before we sign off?
Just thank you so much for your time, Andrew. Like we said, we really do mean it. It was a lot of fun to watch you throughout the season. I'm glad it was a good experience for you, and it was quite a pleasure to talk to you today. So thank you so much for lending us some of your time.
Thank you so much. Have a
All right.
great day, guys.
Yeah, it has been a pleasure. So, thanks everyone for watching, and we will catch you next time. Bye bye.
Take care.